Ethan was not a bad man, he was not lazy, he was not stupid. But if you had asked him, "What do you do in the mornings?" he would have had no answer. Every day began the same. The alarm buzzed. He reached for his phone. His eyes opened not to the sunrise, not to possibility, but to endless scrolling. News feeds, endless messages, noise. Minutes vanished, sometimes an hour. By the time he crawled out of bed, his energy was already drained. He rushed through showers, skipped breakfast, grabbed coffee, and bolted out the door like the day was already chasing him. It didn't matter if it was Monday, Wednesday, or Saturday. Every morning looked the same. Wasted, chaotic, and unclaimed. At first, Ethan didn't think it mattered. It's just mornings, he told himself. The real work happens later in the day. But that was the lie. Because the truth was this: his life looked exactly like his mornings. Scattered, rushed, reactive, never in control. At work, he was always catching up. Deadlines slipped through his fingers. His boss, tired of excuses, stopped giving him opportunities. In his health, he promised to exercise soon, but never did. In his relationships, he was present physically, but mentally always distracted. A man running late in his own mind. One day bled into the next until his weeks felt like identical copies. No structure, no rhythm, no purpose. And here's the dangerous part. Ethan wasn't failing spectacularly. He wasn't crashing. He wasn't ruined. He was just existing. Not broken enough to change. Not thriving enough to matter. That is what made it dangerous. Because days that blur into each other are more deadly than disasters. At least disasters wake you up. But blurred days, they lull you to sleep. Ethan's life was one long blurred morning. One Tuesday morning, Ethan's life changed. But not in the way you'd expect. It didn't start with losing his job. It didn't start with heartbreak. It started with something far smaller, far stranger. He was walking down Main Street, late for work as usual. Tie half-knotted coffee spilling down the side of the cup. The city was alive, horns, footsteps, people rushing. Ethan blended right into the chaos, just another man in a hurry. Then it happened. A man collapsed, right in front of him. Middle-aged, briefcase still clutched in his hand, body twitching as his face hit the pavement. The crowd froze, gasped, then swarmed. Phones came out. Calls to 911, shouts for help. And Ethan just stood there. Not because he didn't care, but because he couldn't move. His brain, fogged and groggy from another late morning, simply froze. He didn't know CPR. He didn't even know how to respond. He watched helplessly as strangers leapt forward, while he stood useless in the back. In that moment, he felt something worse than fear. He felt invisible, like a ghost in his own life. Later, after the ambulance left, Ethan walked to work, shaken. The man's face haunted him. But more than that, one thought screamed in his head. I am not ready for life. I am never ready. It was true. He wasn't just late to work. He was late to everything. Late to act. Late to decide. Late to live. That night, he couldn't sleep. His mind replayed the scene again and again. A man had fallen. Ethan had frozen. What if it had been someone he loved? What if it had been him? The next morning, for the first time, Ethan noticed how rotten his mornings were. He woke up at 9:12. He scrolled. He ate nothing. He rushed. He looked in the mirror, saw his tired eyes, and whispered to himself, I am wasting. But he didn't change. Not yet, because change never happens at the first sting. It takes a deeper wound. And it came. 2 weeks later, Ethan was called into the office. He expected another boring meeting. Instead, he found HR waiting. The company was restructuring. His name was on the list. Laid off. Not because he was the worst employee, but because in a world that rewards excellence, Ethan was forgettable, average, replaceable, and the words from that morning on the street echoed again. I am not ready. He packed his desk in silence, carried his box through the lobby, and stepped out into the bright afternoon. For the first time in years, Ethan had no place to go. The days blurred again, job applications half-filled, emails unanswered, nights wasted online, mornings always the same, late, empty, forgotten, until the morning he saw it. A shop, small old, tucked between a bakery and a bookstore, a place he swore had never been there before. The window was dusty, filled with strange objects, hourglasses, alarm clocks with missing hands, mirrors that seemed too heavy for their frames. The sign above read, The House of Hours. Curious, Ethan stepped inside. The smell hit first. Burning incense, the faint tick of 100 clocks. Behind a wooden counter sat an old man, polishing a strange device that looked like half watch, half compass. The man looked up, squinted, and said, "Ah, another latecomer." Ethan frowned. "Latecomer?" The man smiled, thin and knowing. "Yes, you, the kind who arrives late to every moment. Not because the world is against you, but because you gave your mornings away." Ethan blinked. "What do you mean?" The man tapped the counter. "You are not here to buy. You are here to see. Sit." Ethan sat, uneasy. The man slid the strange compass watch across the table. "This shows how much of your life is already wasted by mornings you threw away." Ethan laughed nervously. "That's ridiculous." The man only whispered. "Look." Ethan glanced down. The compass spun, then it froze. Numbers etched themselves into the glass. Years, 4 months, 19 days. Ethan's throat tightened. "What is this?" The man leaned forward. "It is the time you lost. Not to tragedy, not to crime, to mornings you did not claim." Ethan dropped the device, heart pounding. The man's eyes hardened. "You think time forgives? Time keeps receipts. And yours are stacked high." Ethan's hand trembled as he stared at the strange compass watch on the table. The old man behind the counter didn't move. He simply polished the rim of another clock, as if he had seen this scene 1,000 times before. Ethan whispered, "This is a trick. It has to be." The man replied, "Doesn't matter if you believe me. Time believes in itself." Ethan swallowed hard. "And if I fix my mornings, will this number change?" The old man gave a thin smile. "Not immediately. Time is not so forgiving, but it may stop growing." Ethan pushed the compass back. "Fine. Tell me how to fix it." The man's eyes twinkled. "No one can tell you. That is the curse of mornings. They cannot be borrowed. They cannot be bought. They must be built." Ethan frowned. "So what, you just scare people and send them away?" "No," the man said softly. "I give them a seed." From under the counter, he pulled a small envelope, plain and brown. He slid it across. Written in ink, one word, "Dawn." Ethan picked it up. "What is this?" "An assignment," the man said. "Plant your mornings, and they will grow into days worth living. Or ignore them, and watch your time slip further." Ethan tore it open. Inside was not a seed, but a single folded note. He opened it. On it, handwritten in slanted script, were only 3 instructions. 1. Wake before the sun. Do one thing without a screen. 3. Repeat for 7 days. Ethan laughed bitterly. "That's it?" "That's nothing." The man's eyes sharpened. "If it is nothing, then why is it the one thing you have never done?" Ethan had no answer. That night, Ethan went to bed early, or tried. He tossed, turned, checked his phone, scrolled aimlessly, told himself he'd sleep soon. By 2:14 a.m., he was still awake. His alarm for 5:30 mocked him. When it rang, he smashed snooze 3 times before dragging himself out of bed. His head pounded, his body ached. He stumbled to the kitchen, nearly dropped the kettle, sat at the table staring at the wall. "This is stupid," he muttered. "I'm not built for mornings." But then he remembered the compass. Years, 4 months, 19 days. And he forced himself to pick up a pen and notebook. He sat there groggy and wrote a single sentence, "I am awake." It felt like nothing, but it was something. The next day, he tried again. The 3rd day, he overslept and cursed himself. The 4th, he almost gave up. But on the 5th day, something small happened. He was sitting at the table again, half asleep, scribbling thoughts in his notebook. Suddenly, an idea came. A business idea he'd never thought of before. Something simple, doable. For the first time in months, he felt a spark of energy. It wasn't magic. It wasn't success. But it was proof. Mornings could create something. He kept going. On the 7th day, exhausted but proud, he walked back into the house of hours. The old man was waiting. Ethan placed the compass watch on the table. The numbers shifted. Years, 4 months, 19 days, the same. "What?" Ethan's chest dropped. "I did it. I woke up early, I wrote The man cut him off with a cold chuckle. 7 days? You think 7 days repairs 7 years? Ethan's fists clenched. So what's the point then? The man leaned forward. The point is to learn patience. The point is to understand that mornings are not an event. They are a war. Every day you will fight. Some days you win, some days you lose. But you must keep fighting. Ethan looked down. His throat tightened. The old man's voice softened, almost kind. You are not building mornings. You are building yourself. The old man's words haunted Ethan. You are not building mornings. You are building yourself. That night, Ethan lay awake. One side whispered, "This is useless." The other, Fight, one more dawn. At 5:30, he dragged himself up, not to write but to walk. The streets were empty, the air sharp. He hated it. Yet when he returned, sweat dripping, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Alive. That week became a battlefield. Day 1, he walked. Day 2, he wrote. Day 3, he sat in silence. Day 4, he failed. Day 5, he rose again. The compass never changed. 7 years, 4 months, 19 days. But Ethan did. His words gained weight, his mind cleared, his steps grew lighter. Still, temptation clawed at him. One Friday, after staying up past 2 a.k., he slept until 11. Furious, he shouted, "What's the point?" and stormed to the house of hours. "I can't do it," he told the old man. "Good," the man said. "Now you know, change is jagged. It cuts as it remakes you. Fall 100 times, rise on the 101st, and you are winning." Fire lit in Ethan's chest. The next month, he fought harder. Some days he wrote. Others, he simply stood at the window and breathed the sunrise. He failed but kept rising, his life sharpened. His sister even said, "You look different." For the first time, he believed it, yet the compass still mocked him. Frustrated, Ethan returned. "Why won't the number move?" The old man's eyes pierced him. "Mornings don't erase the past. They only build the future. The compass will not forgive you. But one day you'll stop checking, because you'll care less about what you lost and more about what you're winning." Ethan picked up the compass. This time he didn't look. He walked out into the night, carrying not numbers but direction. Weeks bled into months. The compass still read the same number, but Ethan stopped staring at it. Instead, he stared at dawn. He began to treat the morning like a sacred ground. He woke, stretched, wrote, or walked. Some days it was chaos, other days calm, but he showed up, again and again and again. Slowly, something inside him shifted. At first it was small, his mind sharper in conversations, his words clearer. He noticed people at work listening when he spoke. Friends asked him for advice. His sister kept coming over for breakfast. Then it grew bigger. He launched a project he had dreamed of for years. A simple idea scribbled in his notebook during one of those cold dawns. He wasn't even sure it would work. But the clarity, the rhythm, the focus mornings gave him, they fueled him like never before. Days turned into structures, weeks into momentum. The blur of his life became a line, a direction. He didn't just exist anymore. He built. One night, while clearing his desk, he found the compass again. It lay there, quiet, ticking faintly. For the first time, curiosity tugged at him. He turned it over. The number had changed. It no longer read 7 years, 4 months, 19 days. Instead, it said, "Well, years, 0 months, 0 days." Ethan froze. The realization hit him. The compass wasn't counting how much life he had wasted. It was waiting for him to stop wasting. It had reset, because he had. He laughed. A broken, joyful sound. And for the first time in years, tears ran down his face. The old man's words echoed in his head. "You are not building mornings. You are building yourself." And now, finally, he understood. But the story doesn't end here. Because transformation is not about one man's victory. It's about the message that bleeds into everyone who hears it. So imagine this, you, right now. You who scroll at midnight, exhausted but unable to stop. You who wake heavy, fogged, frustrated. You who whisper to yourself, "I'll change tomorrow." This story is not just Ethan's, it's yours. The compass is in your pocket too, even if you've never seen it. It ticks every second, marking the days you surrender to chaos, distraction, comfort. But it is waiting. Waiting for the moment you decide, really decide, to stop wasting. You don't need a perfect morning routine. You don't need miracle habits. You don't need to win every day. You only need to rise one more time than you fall. You only need to choose dawn over darkness, direction over distraction. Ethan isn't different from you. He was broken, scattered, drowning. But one decision, to fight for the morning, rewired his brain, rebuilt his body, reshaped his future. The question is, will you let his story stay a story, or will you step into yours? Because tomorrow, when the alarm rings, your war begins. And maybe, just maybe, that's the morning your compass resets. What good is wisdom if it stays locked in words? Let's shape this into action. 3 truths you can live by. Stop waiting for the perfect routine. Start small. Show up anyway. Progress is built in chaos, not in perfection. Fight for your mornings. Whether it's 5 minutes or 50, claim a piece of the day for yourself before the world takes it. Consistency beats intensity. It's not about how big you start, it's about how often you return. If you're struggling with overthinking, distraction, or any problem that keeps you stuck, drop it in the comments or reach out through the email in the description. We don't just inspire, we give you practical solutions that work. When your alarm rings, remember Ethan. Your compass is waiting. Don't waste another day.